We begin this news hour in Ukraine, where President Vladimir Zelensky has again indicated he's ready to invite the Chinese President Xi Jinping to Ukraine. Mr. Zelensky offered the invitation to Mr. Xi during an interview with the Associated Press, in which he also revealed he hasn't spoken to China's leader since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in February last year. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman has told reporters there was no information on whether an invite had been officially offered and whether Xi Jinping would accept. In the interview, Ukraine's president also warned the importance of Ukraine holding on to the besieged city of Bakhmut, because defeat would enable Russia to start building international support for a deal that would require his nation to make unacceptable compromises.
Is this part of why you are fighting so hard in Bakhmut? Because a lot of military analysts will say that strategically it's not that significant.
Because that will be victory for him. He will.
And any victory.
Yes, he will sell this victory. He will sell this victory to West, to his society, to China, to Iran, to all the countries, to Brazil, to Latin America countries, not to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Of course, they really understand, from details, and they feel this dangerous because they neighbors. But he will sell it to his society. That was the first step. Now, wait a minute. I will have decision with Ukraine. Then another step. Of course, I gave all the diplomatic and public and not public to President of China, to leader of China, and I want to speak with him. Because I had contact with him before full-scale war, but during all this year, more than 1 year, I didn't have, and I really wait when our teams will find the solution.
But no plans at the moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you invite him here to Ukraine?
Oh yes, we are ready. We are ready to see him here.
President Zelensky there talking to the Associated Press. Meanwhile, the head of the UN's Atomic Energy Agency is making only his second visit to Ukraine's massive nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia, which Russia seized shortly after its invasion began. Raphael Grossi has described conditions at Europe's biggest plant as precarious, despite a deal agreed last year to allow UN inspectors to be based there. He says he's doing everything possible to reduce the risk of a nuclear accident.
I think it's important that we can continue our dialogue. I want to thank you for having facilitated the presence of our teams here since September.
Raphael Grossi there. Well, for more on the war in Ukraine, let's speak to Arise chief correspondent John Cookson, who's monitoring developments in London. Great to see you as always, John. So, an invitation from Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky to President Xi of China. Put that in context for us in terms of its significance, especially coming shortly after Mr. Xi's trip to Russia last week.
Hi, Charles. Good to see you. Well, it's important in the sense that Xi is being invited to Kiev, but to be frank with you, there's not a lot new in what he actually said to our esteemed colleagues at AP in that clip. Xi was in Moscow only a week ago, and he could have visited Kiev relatively easily then, flying from Moscow down to Poland. There is no way. Now Xi is back in Beijing with all the things that he's been involved with. He's involved with there, like Taiwan and the Orient generally. There's no way 69-year-old Xi is going to fly halfway back around the world to Warsaw, take a 14-hour trip in a rickety train from Warsaw to Kiev to sit down with Zelensky, especially when there's nothing really much to talk about, Charles. Zelensky has a peace plan. Xi has a peace plan. And they can talk about those two, but they're so far apart. It's really not worth getting together at this stage unless there's compromises on both peace plans. Just remind ourselves that Zelensky peace plan involves the complete withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine and the restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity. And Xi's so-called peace plan involves basically Russians keeping what they got at the moment, that's about a fifth of the country, and staying where they are. I mean, these two peace plans are just completely poles apart. So apart from reconstruction of Ukraine, after this war is over, as it inevitably will, but who knows when, China's not got a huge amount of interest in Ukraine. It's a pesky war, thousands of miles away. Why should he be worried about it? Now, Zelensky can issue these invitations, and we know already that he issued an invitation, and the Chinese, before Xi's visit to Moscow, said the Chinese leader would have a meeting with Zelensky by social media, for example, through Zoom. The Chinese have already said that. They've never said that Xi would go to Kiev. So, it's fine for Zelensky to say this, but let's put it into context and say, look, it ain't going to happen, not in the foreseeable future.
Well, that's why we've got you there, John, to put it in context for us. But I would have thought, though, that this is an opportunity that Mr. Xi will find hard to resist, a chance to sort of bestride the world stage as something of a peacemaker.
Well, you could say that, and he was involved in getting Iran and Saudi Arabia together. But as I say, he's so focused on his part of the world at the moment. And look, the Chinese only do something if it's to benefit China. Now, I've been looking at Xi's visits in the past. He's been to Russia 8 times. He's been to America 4 times. And he's also been to all the stands in Eastern Europe. He also went to France, Spain, and Indonesia. And in all of those places, and India too, there was Chinese interest in that country, something to benefit China. So unless he comes up with a fresh peace plan, he may do, who knows, that leans more towards what Zelensky wants, then maybe he can go there as honest broker, given his good relationship with Putin. But as things stand tonight, with both leaders, that's Zelensky and Xi, having a different concept of a peace plan, as I repeat, there's nothing for Xi to meet with Zelensky over, not in person anyway.
I understand, though, John, that the US has welcomed the idea, saying Washington was keen for Xi to speak to Zelensky. Is that a surprise?
Not really, no. I mean, the Americans would say that because they're backing Zelensky. And if it's Zelensky's idea that Xi would go to Kiev, then America, and no doubt UK, and all the other Western nations will come out with a similar idea that it's a good thing to happen. But again, what's in it for China? Nothing at the moment.
John, thank you very much indeed. John Cookson, Arise chief correspondent, talking to me there from London.